What's going on, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. Conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. We're back with another fun-filled episode.
As always.
As always, for your Tuesday night. I am your host, your boy Andy, and as always, co-piloting this thing with me is the homeboy Rob.
Did you forget your name there for a second, Andy?
For just a quick second, it's been a long day.
It's I don't know, this heat I think is starting to get to us. Like my brain has felt very mushy the last week or so.
Yeah, just a little bit smooth, just a little bit smooth. And,
yeah.
Starting to get a little smooth patches here and there.
Yeah.
But as always, we are here. We got a fun show for you in store. We got our movie review, of course, and to finish out our machismo themed month is the action-packed adventure from, what was it, 2000? When did this movie come out? 2010. 2010.
Yeah.
The Expendables, starring a whole roster full of action movie icons, and newer and even some newer faces to the.
Yeah, there were some new faces, and then a lot of the old greats that we know and love.
Yeah, the old guard. I really enjoy this movie. I mean, I think more so Robert enjoys this movie. I think Robert's a bit of a super fan.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, that's. I was the one that wanted this movie on for this month. So. Right. Andy chose the lineup, but I was like, at least have this movie in here.
Yeah, Robert made a plea for to have this on, and I don't disagree that this movie shouldn't have what am I trying to say here?
That it should.
I don't disagree that this
that this movie should have been there.
Yeah, because it's this movie is machismo, on steroids,
yeah, in a great way to
forgive the innuendo.
Yeah. And you aren't going all Joe Biden on me, right? I
don't know. If I start saying that if I start saying that if a certain people's group doesn't think in a particular way, that they aren't that part of that people's group, then you just might have to commit me.
Yeah. Well, as long as you don't start calling me a caucus or a dog-faced pony soldier, I think we'll be okay, Andy.
Or challenge you to a push-up contest.
Yeah. Listen,
no,
Jack.
We joke. We're gonna I know right now the the RNC and shortly last week the DNC happened, but we're not gonna get into that. We're gonna allow that to breathe a bit, and maybe we might discuss it, maybe we won't.
If there's anything really exciting that comes of this, then yeah, we'll talk about it.
Right. Yeah, but as it stands now, we're just gonna let it be. Let the parties have their shindigs, and we'll just do our own thing.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. I would ask how your weekend was, but well, firstly, we saw it. We saw each other this past weekend because
we were filming an episode.
Yeah, we were filming an episode for the main podcast, and it's bound to be. It's a good one. I really enjoyed that talk that we had with our guest.
Yeah, definitely. It was a long time trying to get it together.
Hmm.
We finally made it happen. So
Right.
I was definitely happy about that.
Yeah, because we were trying to get this done at the beginning of August, but kind of things kept happening. Um,
Scheduling conflicts.
yeah, scheduling conflicts, health issues. But it came, I think it came together nicely.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, I'm just glad that we got it in the can, and then now I have to piece it together and get it up. While it's still, while the topic is still relevant, but I think the topic will be relevant for the foreseeable future.
Oh yeah.
Maybe at least until November.
Yeah. Oh man. And we end up, yeah, it wasn't. We end up getting into some other things too that were pretty interesting. That
Mm-hmm.
we tend to talk about a lot on this show.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was just a fun time to be had.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though I think you know it was, it didn't get contentious, but I think people might confuse it to be contentious. It was just more of a, it's
Passionate.
yeah, very good. It was like very good wording. It was like it was passionate.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of those things. It shouldn't be political, but the politics of the day is has seeped into everything, and so you know, everything has a twinge of politics or like a slight shade of politics in it now.
Yeah. That's the
Um,
unfortunate thing.
yeah, that's the unfortunate thing. Especially I don't know why we're trying to be discreet. Yeah, we were talking about the Rona, and our guest had a different perspective, and uh, and I thought it was a pretty good one. It was very logic and fact based, um,
Sorely needed.
sorely needed. Um, I'm not gonna give away anything, because what's the point of doing that episode and then talking about it to
Yeah, right.
and spoiling it. But yeah, I would highly recommend you catching that episode when it releases. I'll try to have it up at least in a week or two.
Yeah, and we just put out another episode out on Monday,
Right.
which is uh, with one of my mentors. So I was really, that was an episode I was really happy to get together and make that happen. And I think we had a very, very interesting discussion in that one as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those ones we stockpiled, and so I think I'm gonna go back and watch it just as a refresher, because I do remember having an enjoyable time that episode talking with Dan. Um, yeah, it was just enjoyable.
Yeah, we got it. Seeing he's a pastor over in San Diego that I went to school with, and he's dealing with issues with like with church going on right now, and
Hmm.
with all the pandemic stuff, and he's kind of struggling along with that, and but making it work. And it
Yeah.
actually, in a lot of ways, is doing stuff to at least try and be at least a lot bolder than some of the churches I've seen, at least here in the valley.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, other than John MacArthur.
Yeah, that that's true. You know what? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not like a John MacArthur super fan, but you know
Hmm.
what? I have a lot of respect for him.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. It's just Yeah, no, this like even with everything going on, I think this time has been really beneficial for me. Just it brought me closer. It made the roots of my faith just to go deeper and to and to cling on tighter to uh, the and like secure a foundation for myself. And then so, some things I'm starting to look at them through more of a fundamentalist lens, and I'm but that doesn't mean that I'm changing who I am as a person. It's just I'm coming to different conclusions about things.
Yeah, and I said a lot of a lot of truth has been revealed at this time, uh, and yeah, I would say it's been a really important time for me, with my faith as well. Not that it was wavering in any sense, but I learned a lot more about myself personally, and that uh, I'm not going to stand for falsehood or people abusing the Bible and and the Word and trying to make it say something that it's not saying.
Right. Yeah. Just yeah. It's I've been saying this from the beginning, but this is best apocalypse ever. The year
Yeah,
the year
yeah,
2020. 20 we're getting 2020 vision. And
yeah.
not just in terms of like faith-based or spiritual matters, but just kind of practically, just like now people are finding out like I don't want to people who are working remotely from home. It's like I could do this job at home. I don't need to go travel like sometimes an hour in traffic just to go to an office and be productive. I can be just as productive at home.
It
You
might
know, and
make the movie Office Space obsolete.
yeah, I know, just destroying office culture and the God, what was that? What was the supervisor's name again? Bill.
I think it was like Bill Lundgren.
Yeah, something like that. It make the Bill Lundgren of the world obsolete.
We'll definitely have to review that movie at some point.
Right. Yeah, I think yes.
One of my favorite movies.
Yeah, no, it's really great.
Anyone that's worked in an office like that, that movie, it's like, yep, that's pretty accurate.
Right. Yeah, TPS reports, man. What's
Oh
the deal?
God. Yeah.
Anyways.
But yeah, no, it's been a good week. And honestly, like you know, all things considered, 2020 has actually been a pretty good year for me.
Yeah.
um,
I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
man,
you got married. Yeah.
I got a promotion at work. Um, so I'm still alive,
Mm-hmm.
so can't really complain.
Yeah, you didn't get the Rona.
No, I don't think I will either. Honestly,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I will either.
if that's what takes me out, like then it's my time to go.
Right? I know. It's just yeah. I mean, I don't. Yeah, just I just haven't been worried about it. It's just like I don't know. I made my peace. I made my. It's not like that I have a death wish or something. But it's just like
If you really think
in the grand scheme of things, like what can I really do? It's like because I could just be easily taken out, in a car ride or piece of aircraft to fall on me.
if you really think about it,
Those are just as likely odds as me getting this sickness with a 99.7% recovery.
the not saying that it doesn't exist or anything like that, but statistically, just like looking at the cases and deaths, those but are near statistical, statistically are like it's almost zero.
Mhm.
So, I mean, yeah, you can still be cautious, do it, obviously, wash your hands, don't be a disgusting, person, which you should have done before the pandemic, but all of a sudden people are like, "Oh man, I gotta wash my hands." It's it's
So you weren't doing that before, you sicko.
yeah, you sick fuck. Um, but yeah, you can't live your life, in this fear mode all the time.
Hmm.
It's even as much as I can't stand Bill Maher. He had a good point. It's like talking about, it's like we can't live our life governed by fear, and it's like he was kind of comparing. It's like we're all kind of like Howie Mandel right now, like where it's like you're living in this like OCD like clean bubble, and if you're not like constantly sanitizing yourself, then
Hmm.
you're hyperventilating and freaking out, and that's not a life.
Right. Um, yeah, I mean, this is like you never. I mean, if you ever wonder what it would be like to be a hypochondriac, look at people around you.
Yeah,
And it's it's starting to, and I think people are just like, I think people are really like just right there, or to be like just right there, um, to be done with this nonsense. Because like even my dad, who yelled at me for not wearing masks and stuff, he's even getting tired of wearing the masks. Because whenever he goes out, he's like, he gets out of the car and he's like, kind of starts walking to the to the store or whatever, and he sees the sign about masks, like, oh yeah, it's like, and he comes back like, God, it's like, damn these freaking masks,
yeah.
and it's just,
Uh, well, it's kind
I've
of the
been,
point where it's
and I
like,
I keep saying this, but this, and you keep hearing it say, oh, when is this gonna be over? When is this gonna be over? And it's like I've been saying this whole time. It's like it's over when we all collectively decide that it's over, and that we're like screw what the government says, because they don't even have the grounds to enforce any of this stuff. And it's just like
yeah,
everyone just starts reopening their businesses. Everyone starts not wearing their mask, and it's like, all right, we're done with this now.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what it's got to be. Um, and when people start to sack up and say like, you know what, I'm done. If we're gonna die, we're gonna die. Big fucking deal.
Yeah, didn't mean to start get into such like revolutionary start off with such a revolutionary tone here, but you get what you get here, all right.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I know. Okay, so we're gonna get into some of the planned stuff that we have, and what in the first, I don't know. Let's go with the first thing. Let's start off with is a quick review by Robert uh, about this game he's been playing, which I forget what's. Remind
It's
me of the
called
title.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Right, Ghost of Tsushima, which I actually have been hearing about through various you know other YouTubers that I who I follow or I consume their content, and from just what I've been hearing, I hear it's good. Solid story, very
Oh
engaging.
yeah. It's
So yeah, why don't you take
so
us away?
well recently, because we're going to be doing something later on in the year. So I've been watching a lot of old samurai movies and stuff. And so if you're a fan, if you're a gaming fan, and you like old samurai movies, uh, this is the game for you. It's set in like 13th century Japan. It's not necessarily like super historically accurate, like an actual event that happened. It's kind of a collection of things that have happened in like that era of Japan that they've kind of created a story around.
Right, so
Um,
it's more of a historical fiction.
yeah, loosely based on history, but not like super historically accurate.
Right.
It's not like, and essentially it's the Mongols have invaded this island in Japan, and you're the main character. He's a samurai from a notable clan, and he is they get overtaken by the Mongols, and all of his clan and a lot of the samurai have been killed off. But the main character survives, and now he is trying to help kind of um, gather the remaining people together to kind of uh, do a counterattack on the Mongols and reclaim the island. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just a visually beautiful game. It's The gameplay is really good. If you're like a fan of the Assassin's Creed series, it's similar to that. A lot of it's kind of like that third person perspective. You know, you can infiltrate stealthily. Kind of be a ghost, which is the title. You end up becoming the ghost of Tsushima.
Ah,
Or if you,
clever.
yeah, or if you choose, you can be more of like you can fight in a more honorable fashion where you're facing the enemy head on, which uh, makes the game a little bit more challenging doing it that way. And I've tried to do a little bit of both. And yeah, just really fun gameplay. I can't even describe how beautiful the game looks. I mean, the colors are very vibrant, and they have a photo mode which I've been fucking around with a lot. If you go on my Twitter, I've been posting up a bunch of like videos and screenshots of my gameplay. And the other thing that you can do in this, which is if you're like I said, if you're a fan of those old samurai movies, there's the what they call the Kurosawa mode, where you can play the game in black and white, and even the sound plays like an old samurai movie. It's not like the crisp, clear sound. It's more of a like old movie feel to it. So a lot of a lot of like cool like little features and things that you can do. There's normally in games like this too, you have what are waypoints, and it's like, oh, you got an arrow that you gotta like follow and go to. In this one, however, they've done it where it's more of a natural feel where you're guided by the wind or you're guided by like animals and stuff. Where so it's more of a natural. You're kind of like your character is like one with nature, and you're being guided by nature to your destinations. So a lot of cool, fun stuff to do. I haven't finished it yet. I'm only in like chapter 2. I've probably put in about 50 or so hours, but I've been these are the type of games where like there's a lot to do. So in typical fashion, I've done a lot of the side quests and haven't focused so much on the main story. um,
Always got
and
to
yeah,
do things the hard way, Robin.
I know it's just the way I've always I've with those type of games, I'm always like, yeah, you know what? I gotta save the island, but there's this villager that needs help.
Right. I need to help them plant their help them plant their crops.
But yeah, it's I don't have the case with me, but yeah, I highly recommend if you're a gamer. It's on PS4. I think it's exclusive to PS4. So if you got a PS4, you're a fan of old samurai movies, and you like the Assassin's Creed series, this game is right in your wheelhouse. And I look forward to. I haven't been able to game quite as much now, but I'm
Since you strapped on a ball and chain.
yeah, and my backlog is just God. I have a giant backlog of games. Like I I'm looking because I have all my stuff in my office. I haven't reorganized it yet, but Yeah, I'm not done gaming anytime soon.
Hmm.
I definitely will not be bored.
Cool. There you have it, folks. I guess that's Robert's review. You strongly recommend.
Oh, highly yeah, this game already like is already kind of, if I was going to rate it like a movie, this is already a 5 stars for me.
Wow, there you go. Uh,
And the one other thing that's cool about this, because I've been playing, you can obviously you can play it with they do have it's dubbed in English, it's in English. You can play it through English. I've chosen to do where it's the to have the Japanese voice acting and with subtitles.
subs, not dubs.
Yeah, subs, not dubbed. But for fans of anime, if you're a fan of like One Piece, the main character is voiced by the guy who does Rorona Zoro's
Ah.
from One Piece. Yeah, it's voiced by
Mhm.
Zoro. So if you're a fan of One Piece, you're gonna love this game too.
Dancing Jason tried to get me into One Piece, but I couldn't get past episode 10.
I'll say this about One Piece is it's a slow burn, because
Mm-hmm.
I would say give One Piece, keep watching because it actually is a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, where what's really good about that, it's not necessarily like the overall story is really good, but the individual story, because there's different arcs, like there's different story arcs where like they'll spend, they're obviously the main goal is that Luffy, the main character, is trying to gain, the trying to get the One Piece, like the
Right, yeah,
big
yeah. The
treasure,
big prize, the brass ring,
right?
so
That's
on and so
obviously the
forth.
main like goal,
Mm-hmm.
but each individual story arc is maybe like 20 or 30 episodes, and the characters grow, and like the story is actually really really good. um and I second Dancing Jason's you know suggestion, like for you to watch this. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a very long one. It's been on since
Yeah, it's almost like 20
1999.
years. Yeah, it's almost like 20
1999.
years.
Yeah. And it's kind of hard to like start now to like and catch up.
Mm-hmm.
um but I would say if you're looking for something a little bit shorter, if you're looking to kind of get into anime, I would recommend something like Death Note, which is I think only like 30 or 40 episodes. Or like Code Geass, which is like another like maybe only like 40 or 50 episodes. Not quite as long.
Mm-hmm.
And that could wet your whistle and maybe get you kind of to get you started.
Hmm. Yeah, we'll see. Because it is a daunting prospect, especially for like One Piece. But yeah, I heard Death Note is pretty solid as
Death
well.
Note is
But just to
one of
stay
my
away
favorites.
from the Netflix adaptation.
Oh no, yeah, don't watch that shit. No, watch the anime. Don't watch that live action bullshit.
All right, will do. Okay, all right, that's it for the game review. Ghost of Tsushima. Robert gives it. I know this isn't what we usually do, but yeah, Robert highly recommends it. So if you're into games, then do go check it out if you already haven't. I mean, it's been out for a while now, right?
Yeah, it's been out for I think it was came out like last month. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it came out. It was no, it was July. It came out in July, so it's been out for like 2 months. And
Mm-hmm.
there's the people that like they beat it within, because they don't, well, especially now with the pandemic stuff. But
with the abundance of
there's
time
people,
on people's hands.
yeah, but there's people that like they literally take vacations when like certain games come out and they play them until like they get the platinum trophy where they get all the trophies and do everything in the game. And it's like they do it in like a week. It's like, are you
Oh,
fucking kidding
jeez.
me? Like, I don't have. Well, I don't have that type of time. I am gonna get the platinum trophy for this game, but it's gonna be a little bit longer than a week.
Right, priorities.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's highly recommend.
There you have it. Okay, let's get into the next bit. The next thing on the agenda for tonight's show, and that's I know we're a little bit late on it because it was almost like a month ago that when it dropped, but it's still laying up. Not a lot of not a lot of news outlets have been covering it or giving it its proper attention, at least in my opinion. And that is the body cam footage from the George Floyd killing.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, uh, the body cam footage of George Floyd was leaked, not released. It was leaked. I believe it was a reporter or some such person who someone had access to the body cam footage and like kind of recorded it on their phone, watching it on a computer screen, and then I think they leaked it to the Daily Mail, and the Daily Mail uploaded to their YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And it gives totally different context to the video that we were that we were constantly shown when the events of George Floyd's death occurred.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that and this is something that I've said is like I yes, the footage that we were shown like all of for months on in our mainstream media. It's like if you're just following, if you're just looking at that, even like people who are law-abiding citizens who trust the police, who are they want law and order. They're saying like, oh God, this is bad. This looks really
Yeah.
bad. And
right, yeah. I mean, you couldn't find someone who would say like, oh yeah, that guy deserved to die in that
yeah,
way.
no, nobody. And honestly, like, had there not been a huge, all these, not protests. What we had were not protests. It was riots.
Right.
Riots and looting and and just really horrific shit. And if we just, if that hadn't happened, you had the world like it's like you could maybe kind of people was like yeah nobody wants this. Let's have a good discussion about like how we can like make things better. Reform the police and yeah, sure there's always stuff that could be like looked at to be done better. Sure, no doubt about it. But the narrative that was put out there about like oh these cops they're hunting down black people or whatever, it's like it's just not true. And I've always felt this way. Like, I told you about a story from I think it was I don't know, like 6 or 7 years ago now. Um, when it was during the Obama administration where that kid who made that that damn he made a clock for his science class that looked suspiciously like a bomb.
Right.
And I bought into the narrative, and that was kind of the thing. Like, and when that came out, it's like, oh yeah, this is all bullshit. Like, that was kind of like my moment that woke me up from like, oh yeah, the mainstream media is like really crap.
Right.
I was already leaning that direction, but I bought into that story, and when everything fully came out, I was like, never again. I'm never gonna be fooled like this ever again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I felt with like the George Floyd footage. It's like we're not seeing the whole picture here,
Right.
and
Yeah, because I mean, even just I think uh, I think they got smart about it, and that because like this recent one with that guy in what is it, Wisconsin.
yeah,
Yeah, they showed us the one perspective. Like I think it was like from a neighbor from across the street, and you could hear people just like shouting like, "No, just stop, stop, stop!" Like telling the guy who gets shot to just like kind of stop and just do what the police says. Just like, "No, stop, don't do it." Like just go and and then you see the police, shooting the guy. But then there was another perspective from I don't know, someone from the other side of the street, seeing what was going on behind the van. Because like the first video that you see, you don't see the perspective of what's going on behind the car before the guy that gets shot like gets into the car or tries to get into the car. But you see him, but in this different other perspective where you can see behind the car, you can see him wrestling with police officers.
yeah. And honestly, like based with that one, and then the George Floyd stuff, it's like honestly, like the cops are being overly nice. It's kind of like the we talked with about Roadhouse last week. They're pulling a Dalton. They're being nice until it's time to not be nice.
Nothing nice. Yeah.
And
It's
I mean they are going way above and beyond what they should have done in what they should have done in any of those in that situation. And it got to the point where they couldn't they had to not be nice. And
right. But even in the case, or specifically for the George Floyd case, yeah, I mean, because he was like hopped up on he was hopped up on so much drugs that he wasn't helping the matter because he was like he was being erratic and he wasn't following the instructions of the police, which which were completely normal. It's like keep your hands on the steering wheel, like put your hands behind your back, just get in the car. Those are all like reasonable instructions. And
yeah,
like, but then you can make the argument by saying that, oh well, like he pulled it, he like the cop like pulled a gun on him when he wouldn't put his hands on the steering wheel. That might
well,
seem like what is it? Escalation. But it's
they
like,
didn't
well,
even
you don't
hold
know,
it,
but
though.
you don't, but but you don't know what he's planning on doing. He could just like he could kind of be trying to what is it? Fool you and just like kind of distract you, and then like reach his hand down, like pull a weapon or something. You know, any type of scenario like that.
Yeah, and it's like they didn't even got to the point where they actually holstered their weapons. They weren't pointing. They weren't pointing their weapons at him anymore. And he was shouting like, don't shoot me. It's like, we're not going to shoot you. We're just asking you to like keep your hands on the wheel and follow our instructions.
Right. Yeah. And it was like it wasn't until like he dropped his hand is when the police like drew their weapons.
yeah,
After repeatedly telling him, not to, to keep his hands on the steering wheel where they can see him.
and the other thing too is that you even had like the person that was in the car with him saying, "It's like, dude, just stop resisting."
Right. Yeah. Like even like people like who were just like kind of like on almost spectating. We're just like, oh man, just do what they say, do what they say.
And the other thing too is like because obviously like the slogan it's kind of like with the same thing from one of the other cases the hands up don't shoot thing the George Floyd one became the I can't breathe. Well, he was
Right.
saying that from like way before, where
Right,
it's
like
like
before,
because he
yeah,
felt
it was
like
before they
or
even,
whatever, and they're
right, it was
saying, hey,
before they even slapped the cuffs on him. He was like saying, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe."
yeah, and it's like they were willing, like we're gonna keep the windows down, we'll have the air on, we're gonna be right here, we're gonna take care of you, you're okay, but the reason he couldn't breathe is because he had a lethal amount of methamphetamines and like fentanyl and all this shit in his system, and the toxicology reports from his autopsy says like he was gonna die.
Right. I mean, his heart was beating like it was a hummingbird.
Yeah,
You know, and it was like, and it was a matter of time, and and we're not saying that the officer didn't contribute his part by putting putting his knee on on Floyd's neck, but it's like one of those things. A guy falls off a 4-story building, lands on a wrought iron gate, and stumbles into the street and gets run over. It's like, what killed him?
yeah. It's just but saying that and the fact that you know this footage has been there. People have this footage and they know that like it would change the whole narrative. And it wouldn't change the narrative. It would show the truth. And
Right.
the fact that it took
Or
some
or as like the title of this segment goes, like it would give context to what happened. It wasn't like this guy. It wasn't like that officer Chauvin was out to kill out to kill George Floyd.
yeah, because not only should that and it also gives context, because everyone's saying, oh, the cops were like, just standing around and not like doing anything or intervening, and this cop was just, murdering, he went out to murder, George Floyd. It's like that's all bullshit. That they were there the whole time too, and like they were there for that whole situation, and it's like, you know what, like they did everything in their power to like not get it to that point, and it just this shit pisses me off because not only are you gonna you know ruin you're trying to send someone to jail for murder, a cop for sent away for murder, for something that's like honestly like maybe he shouldn't have had his knee on the guy's neck for that long, uh but damn, this is pretty damning evidence to me. And that like all the
Right.
bullshit that the mainstream media pumped into to the public and what it caused, uh those people should go to jail, to be honest, like or sued to
Right.
into
I mean,
oblivion.
I think anyone who's lost a business because of the riots should start a class action lawsuit against the media. Like just kind of pull a Nick Sandman, go after them. You know,
Yeah,
it's because of your reporting. It's because of your constant pushing of of this narrative that that this guy was murdered and it was like completely racially based. It's like that's the reason why this my business that that took me a lifetime to create is now nothing but a pile of ashes.
yeah,
And they should go and they should go after them and hold them liable for what they for their shitty reporting.
100%.
Yeah, start a class action lawsuit because you I think it has a good chance, especially
Yeah,
like the smaller businesses. The
yeah,
big ones like Target or whatever could make their case as well, but just like the small mom and pop businesses that were that were irrevocably affected by this. They should band together, start a class action lawsuit, and go after the media corporations.
yeah, definitely. It's just it's insane, Andy. Like, and People ask me like, "Oh, why don't you trust the news? Why don't you trust the news?" It's like it's stuff like this, like, and we're seeing, with the whole like Nick Salmon stuff. It's like he had like a whole, he had a case too, and like honestly, he's cleaning house, and I hope
Mm-hmm.
that he gets everything that's coming to him,
Mm-hmm.
and like, because I think he settled with like they settled with CNN,
Yeah,
and
CNN and one other, I think, Washington Post.
yeah, reports are that I think he got like close to 100 mil from CNN.
Right. It wasn't disclosed, but like they do mention that the initial, uh, not asking price, but the initial, I guess, demand was like 200 mil.
Yeah, and I think he got about half that.
Yeah. You know what what I would
And they were,
if I was Nick
they were,
Sandman, I would
they were.
ask for Brian Stelter's car in the deal, his personal car,
Oh yeah, but
and
so
I
speaking.
wouldn't drive it. I would just I would just leave it in like I would just leave it on my front lawn and just every day just take a hammer to it.
But yeah, no, and you could tell that like, because Brian Stelter like is talking a lot of you can tell like, he was pissed off about it, like,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah. He broke. Yeah, he could get fired. I don't know why. I don't know if he is.
he broke the confidentiality agreement. And
Yeah, yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
like,
Exactly.
if he broke it, then they should like release all those details, because I want to know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
But
Yeah, but
yeah,
yeah, if I was Nick Sandman, I would ask in the deal. I would ask for Brian Stelter's personal car.
yeah.
And again, I just leave it. I just leave it on my front lawn, and no, what I would do, I'd park it at Brian Stelter's house, and every day I would come by with a sledgehammer and just hit it. Every day, just come by with a sledgehammer, boom, like knock off a mirror, boom, take a shot at the hood. Every day, just one shot.
Yeah, because honestly though, like, because I hope I hope that kid gets every penny that's like owed to him, because he's never gonna get a job anywhere.
Right?
Like, no one's gonna hire him.
He's effectively destroyed. He's effectively destroyed because
Yeah,
there's no school that'll accept him. There's no company that'll want that kind of collateral fallout.
damage. Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, yeah, he wasn't even finished with high school, and he was effectively canceled.
yeah.
So I hope he gets every single penny that he's due.
And honestly, I hope it bankrupts some of those reporters and Twitterati that
Yeah,
went after him.
the blue check
Yeah,
marks. Yeah, because I mean, these I forget who said it, but it's these so-called journalists, they're what they're doing is the equivalent of malpractice, for doctors.
yeah, yeah.
You know, I know there's no oath when become a journalist, because journalist is something that there shouldn't be that high of a bar to get over, but there still should be a bar, and it should be placed reasonably high, so as to weed out some of the bottom feeders. But
It's one of those things where, yeah, obviously, like, yes, they're opening up the lawsuit, so it kind of, you kind of have to have some sort of, um,
right, structure or system, to
yeah, but like,
to kind of
but a lot of
yeah, for defense.
yeah, there is a code of ethics per se, but it's more of like it's kind of like unwritten rules in sports, where it's like, fuck it, we'll just, we'll say like we had anonymous sources, which is, like, nobody,
Yeah,
And
which is kind of like the go-to for CNN. It's like, oh well, anonymous source says that that you that you eat chocolate pudding and salsa together. It's like,
yeah, and the anonymous source is CNN itself.
yeah,
It's just
they just make it up.
and yeah, it's just crazy. I can't say it enough how much I hate the mainstream media. And it's not just, yeah, we're bashing CNN, but it's MSNBC, it's Fox News, it's all
Yeah.
these guys. They suck.
Right, I know. I mean,
They
like
occasionally,
some people might be surprised, because we are conservative leaning or we're right leaning, and we're even like throwing Fox news into it, but it's like like just recently for like the RNC, they're doing the same thing as like the left leaning news networks, and like instead of just watching just broadcasting the speeches and then doing commentary afterwards, they're doing commentary while it's happening. Like and Fox News too. Like
yeah,
they're not letting people like watch what these people say. They're not letting them like what was it like Tim Scott's speech. Like I saw a clip where Tim Scott was getting into a speech, and then Fox News just comes in and starts giving their commentary about it. It's like, dude, the guy just started. Or like
yeah,
this one gentleman, this Cuban gentleman whose family escaped communism twice. Once in Spain and once in Cuba. He was giving like his speech was so powerful. Everyone needs to hear that speech, regardless of party affiliation or whatever, or even like doesn't matter even what country that you live in. I mean, I guess if you live in a communist state, then you're never gonna see that. But
yeah,
just doesn't any free democratic country should watch that and take and be warned that communism can come anywhere. And
yeah. And yeah, I
and it's
remember
like
like
Fox News, like instead of allowing that man to just speak and then talking about it afterwards, they were talking about it while he was speaking and like shutting down like that his speech.
yeah, it's the same thing with and this is also happening on Fox News too. They were taught when last year, when I think it was last year, the when Notre Dame was essentially like on fire, and a lot of it was destroyed, and they had someone from the area in France who's saying, yeah, there's been a lot of church burnings going on, and it was believed from sources on the ground who actually lived there, saying, yeah, we're having a lot of it was a lot of like Islamic attacks on churches, and there's and this is what it's been in like French news and stuff that's been going on, and like, oh yeah, we're not it's like, sorry sir, we're not gonna like listen. They essentially hung hung up on him, and it's like I'm not like, he's not speculating anything, he's just saying like what's going on. And
Right.
it's like, then
He's
what
like
the hell
he's
did
giving
you?
his perspective, like someone who lives in the area and is just been watching the news and its reports in France that
Yeah,
this is what's happening.
it's and because it wasn't like there was um recently too, there was another like big church that was nearly burned to the ground, and it was like they it was kind of similar how they claimed with Notre Dame, where it's like, oh, it was just like, it was a like a cigarette butt, or like like, or oily rags, or it's like, man, a lot of loose cigarette butts that just keep getting right into like the right area to start a fire.
Right.
It's where it's like, okay, yeah, that's where I'm like, okay, that sounds like bullshit.
Yeah, and and just even more recently, when the press secretary Kayleigh McEnany was giving her daily briefing, and she showed a small like montage of clips from the Portland riots. Fox News like cut away from that
Yeah.
And you could see that the person, I forget who it was, but whoever was like whose show was on at that time, she was cut off. She was like she wasn't ready to be back on camera. They just like switched it up. Why aren't you showing you have people on your network talking about the violence and what have you, um, almost on a daily basis. But now because the press secretary shows it, in more or less raw fashion, you suddenly like cut away. That that's
Yeah.
incongruent. It's incongruent. If you you know
And so,
if you want to talk about the violence that's happening in Portland and Seattle and all these other freaking leftist hellholes, then why don't you let the press secretary show her little short video of it? She's backing you up. She's saying yes. Look at all this violence. Look at all these peaceful protests that are happening around the country.
yeah, and it's just so yeah, it's like it's all the mainstream media. It's not just CNN and MSNBC and what have you, but it's Fox News too. They're just as liberal or leftist as the other networks. It's all bullshit.
Yeah, and so
There's hardly anyone doing any real journalism anymore out in the mainstream media.
yeah, it's
So
all like not
somehow like
like
some people find essentially they stumble into like some actual journalism, uh, you know, which surprises me. But they're really like they have just given up. It's all and honestly, it's a great movie to watch is Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal. That's essentially what the mainstream media has become. Especially with the advent of cable news and 24-hour news, because you can't keep people. Before, like, yes, the news was left leaning, if not maybe a little leftist, but they there was a sign off time, and like you waited till the next day or the next night for there to be news again, and it wasn't like, oh, we constantly have to have viewers and there's not stuff like going on at like 3 or 4 a.m. It's like it's what is this, like this is, and they just have to make shit up.
right. I mean, you you have to get your news yourself. You have to look at or you have to consume original or first sources. That's why I try to always catch the president's press conferences or whatever live, or if not, I just go check it on what is it? The White House. If you didn't know, the White House has its own YouTube channel. And even Donald Trump has his own YouTube channel. So I mean, if you want to know what's going on, just go to primary sources. Go to primary sources and watch it for yourself, and also watch alternative independent uh, news coverage. They just they take the stories from the mainstream, yes, but they go but there's a lot of people that take the stories from like the mainstream, but then they also go deeper. Um, which someone who I would recommend is Tim Pool. He in terms of just like his research, it's pretty good. And then also a YouTuber goes by the name Sticks Hexenhammer. His analysis is great, you know, and he's not a conservative at all. He's like a libertarian anarcho-capitalist.
It takes like people like that who is like honestly like they're just so tired of just the garbage that is being thrust upon the American people. It's like, well, I'm going to do something different and actually like be a journalist.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of like thrust into that spot just because they're tired of being force fed stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, not anyone on YouTube is trustworthy or someone who's like independent and alternative. Because I mean, there was a time that I watched Philip DeFranco stuff, very early on. But then, it just like more and more, it was like more left, and he was omitting things, or or he would just like I forget, it wasn't necessarily the Covenant Catholic kids, but he came out like with a really bad take where he like instantly condemned somebody or something that happened, but then it came out that it was actually something else.
Yeah. Oh God. Well, because I know the story you're talking about, and I'm kind of drawing a blank myself. But yeah, there because before, like, he actually did have some pretty good journalistic practices, but yeah, he kind of went away from that a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny. Someone called him. I forget who, but someone called him the CNN of YouTube.
That's not. Well, I figured the CNN of YouTube was like the Young Turks, but
Oh, yeah. I don't know. No, they're the MSNBC, because the MSNBC is at least honest, and they say that which side that they're on. CNN, like,
oh, that's okay, yeah. You know what?
because CNN up and down goes, oh, we're completely neutral. We don't have a bias at all.
The most trusted name in news.
Right? Yeah. And it's like, and like Philip DeFranco, he kind of he kind of purports that he's has a more neutral take on it, but he's left. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas, like, yeah. I mean, I would have agreed with you with the Young Turks, like, maybe a couple of years ago, but it's like they're the MSNBC. Like, MSNBC, like, fully admits that they're on the left. All of their people that they have are on the left. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I know it's the same thing on every network where they have like the token. If it's MSNBC, then they have the token Republican who's like really like a rhino
Yeah.
or neocon, and then you have Fox who has like the token liberal who's just kind of like the punching bag.
But honestly, like, even like they're supposedly conservative, but they're not conservative. They're not.
Yeah, I mean Fox News.
At,
Yeah, I mean except for
at
for the
best.
exception of Tucker Carlson and and Greg Gutfeld. Those are only like and sometimes Sean Hannity, but like
Yeah.
really, yeah.
And Tucker's more of a
Tucker Carlson,
libertarian anyway.
yeah, and
Like,
I don't even agree fully with Tucker Carlson's positions. Like he's for like government interference in the market.
yeah, which
Yeah,
is
which I can't. Which
horrible.
but then he still calls out the left. He still is calling out the hypocrisy and like the violence and all that kind of stuff. So for that, I
Yeah.
could support him. I just can't support him in like his idea that the government should get involved in the market and curtail certain industries to make things equitable or whatever.
Right. But like outside of that, that's like the rest of them, like Chris Wallace. That guy is like a super liberal.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and it's like it's just yeah. So guys, like, the mainstream media is not your friend. They're not there to, like, they're not there to give you information. They don't care about you. They want to keep you in fear. They want to keep you, glued in to watching their feed, and like that they have the prescription for you. Um, and it's all bullshit.
that's correct.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah,
It's just
and
like, yeah, I tell people all the time. It's like, stop watching the news and just research everything yourself. Yeah, you can watch the news, but just don't make it your primary news source. Because I'll still admit, I still watch some of the mainstream media, but it's only like
it, it
25. It's only
honestly,
25%. It's
it's
only
like
25% of the news that I consume.
it's a tertiary source.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, it's not the primary source, and neither is any of the other sources that I take in either. It's always just portions of a portion, portions and portion of this, portion of that, portion of this, portion of that, and seeing where everything converges. Where what is everyone saying the same thing on? And that's
Right.
usually where the truth is. because I was like, telling people, it's like, especially when just after like George Floyd happened, I was like saying, hey, don't always believe like, literally watch sources, um, other sources, because especially and like I told them to watch to try to get things from like alternative sources, alternative like independent media, because I was like, hey, yeah, like the mainstream media that's telling you that Trump colluded with Russia also told you that there was weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
Yeah.
So yeah, so hopefully that yeah, and don't be an asshole. Just kind of make it funny. 'Cause I remember I have a friend who literally like told me, he's like, oh dude, like it's like I try to watch neutral stuff. I don't even watch Fox News. It's like I just watch CNN. It's like, what?
Yeah, that's that's it's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, but then but that was that was before like it started to get like so obvious in like the non-skew between
Yeah.
CNN and Fox News. But it's like even so very content like this segment is titled "Context is King."
Yeah.
Just because they show it to you on the mainstream media, that doesn't mean it's true or accurate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because just like just at what was it? What was that? Some. Oh, it's so sad to say this, but like another one, another black person that was shot, and like the sister came out like telling you, calling for peace or whatever. But then CNN snipped it just as she was starting to say, oh, take that shit to the suburbs. We need our wigs. Go burn their shit down.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's like,
You know.
and so you're seeing it's like, oh, a lady calling her piece, like that's not what she was. That's not what she was
That's not
talking
what
about
she
at
was
all.
doing. Yeah, she was redirecting the mob to go and attack, the suburbs.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, was she calling for peace? Yes. It's like, but just yeah, if she was calling for peace in her community, but she was redirecting the mob to go and attack, somebody else.
Yeah.
So yeah, context is king, everybody. All right, and I think just with like the leak, it wasn't even like they eventually came out with it. Someone had to leak this onto the internet for people to know what really happened before the 9-minute video that we saw of George Floyd dying. He was already dying. He was already in the process of dying. Did the
Yeah.
knee, did the knee contribute?
Sure.
Possibly, sure. But it wasn't the main factor. It wasn't because the cop was a racist or because him and George Floyd had history or whatever, and this was a hit.
And yeah, and honestly, it's nuts. I'd say, but yeah, go watch the footage yourself. Like
I mean, if
see
it's
see
still
for
up,
yourself if it's still up. Yeah.
it's still up, or did they pull hydroxychloroquine on this video? I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised. All right.
Let's get into the movie review. We'll
All right,
close it out.
let's wrap this bitch up and get out of here. Now will bring us to our movie review, which again is the Expendables, and I will give y'all a quick synopsis of the movie. All right, Barney Ross leads the Expendables, a band of highly skilled mercenaries, including knife enthusiast Lee Christmas, martial arts expert Yin Yang, heavy weapons specialist Hale Caesar, demolitionist Toll Road, and loose cannon sniper Gunnar Jensen. when the group is commissioned by the mysterious Mr. Church to assassinate the merciless dictator of a small South American island. Barney and Lee head to the remote locale to scout out their opposition. Once there, they meet with a local rebel, Sandra, and discover the true nature of the conflict, engulfing the city. When they escape the island and Sandra stays behind, Ross must choose to either walk away and save his own life or attempt a suicidal rescue mission that might just save his soul.
This movie is fucking awesome. So if you're like, we've watched Roadhouse, Action Jackson, and The Predator.
Mhm.
If you love 80s and 90s action movies, this is a callback to the 80s and 90s action movies. And obviously it has a lot of the old, like, great, heroes and villains from those films. You got Sylvester Stallone, you have Dolph Lundgren, Jet Li, Jason Statham. Terry Crews was not, I wouldn't say is an action star, but he became an action star in this okay, so
Well, he has the physique for an action hero.
yeah. If they were gonna make a modern day Action Jackson, I want Terry Crews playing him.
Okay. Oh yeah, it could be the son of Action Jackson. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
They
and then
have
you also have cameos from Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. Yep. So you have that, and then you have some like newcomers to the game where like you have Randy Couture, MMA fighter. You got Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's a
professional wrestler.
and so it's just Mickey Rourke's in there, not necessarily an action star, but like he's part of the film too. And what a movie! It's the story's kind of it's a typical like 80s 90s action movie story where it's like who cares? You just want to see them kick the shit out of the bad guys and save the day, and this movie delivers on that. I can't. I remember like when I first like went into like what because 2010. I don't know what it was. Like there was a lot of films like up to that point where I'm like I was actually kind of getting tired of some of the movies that were coming out, and when this came out, I was like, yeah, okay, I guess this is kind of like my last kind of last ditch effort on like new movies. And I went with one of my friends to watch it when it came out, and I was just like, yes, this is exactly what I needed. Just some mindless machismo.
I think what it was, uh, it was the Bourne effect. That all these all these action movies with elaborate fight scenes and dramatic car chases was couched in like this gritty realism.
Yeah, and don't get me
and
wrong,
it's
I
like
love
and they kind of don't get me wrong, those Jason Bourne series is amazing.
It's one of my favorites.
Right. But give me over the top, unrealistic, shootout where you're jumping, where the hero's like jumping through the air and he's like unloading, with both handguns, and he's like and he perfectly throws the grenade overhead to to just kill like a squad of bad guys, and then whip around with it with his his belt fed machine gun as he has a cigar in his mouth and then delivers like a really quippy one liner. It's just like, yes, it's the junk food of action movies.
Yeah,
all right.
I wanted the beef bust of a star, lots of explosions, ass kicking action, and just I love it. I love this movie so much. So all these stars I really like. And they have great series of their own that you can go and enjoy. Obviously, like you have Stallone with Rambo and Rocky, Jason Statham with like the Transporter series that he was in. He was also actually in one with Jet Li called The One, which I highly recommend as well. Yeah, Jet Li was also in Lethal Weapon 4. Um, Another good movie for him. Uh, I think probably his most famous one is like Romeo Must Die with Aaliyah.
At least in the West. But
Yeah,
another like if you want like for a visual treat, watch Hero.
Hero.
Hero was great.
I don't
Like
think I've.
for like it's yeah, it's a Chinese film, but yeah, it's a like for a visual smorgasbord, I would recommend Hero.
Yeah. So you got that. I'll say like one of my favorite scenes in the movie is and the facial acting is really good in this scene is where Lee Christmas played by Jason Statham, his ex girlfriend is battered by her new boyfriend, and so he goes to that guy playing they're
Right?
you know
Yeah, he's playing street. He's playing basketball with his friends.
yeah
And
and
Jason Statham's character goes to confront him.
yeah and he beats the shit out of all the friends, and he takes out his knife and just slams the basketball on the guy's chest and stabs the basketball, and the look of fear in that guy's eyes is just so amazingly real. Like I was like, yes, this is the guy that was there is a great actor, because you felt like he was like, I'm gonna die.
Right. Yeah, I think
um,
that's actually one of my favorite scenes too, because it's such a contrast between the idea of masculinity and machismo. It's it's the stark contrast. You have like the kind of the toxic kind, which I think the new boyfriend does legitimately represent the idea of toxic. I think the more accurate idea of what toxic masculinity is.
yeah,
Um, and then you have Jason Statham, who is the the good representation of masculinity, where um, you know he's he's a protector, and
right,
that's what's a part of masculinity is to protect, and just like the little speech that he gives her at the end, where it's like you know. Uh, you should have waited for me, because I was worth it.
yeah,
That's just like, damn, just like, like what guy doesn't want to, didn't want to say that to like an ex that dumped them, you know? It's just
yeah,
like I was,
exactly,
but then it's all, but it's also he demonstrated his value because to be a man is to be a protector, and he was able to
right,
protect her, and or he was able to get get justice for her. But he didn't take it too far. And I think that's another that's another aspect of masculinity is like the restraint.
he didn't
Because
kill all of them.
yeah, he didn't kill all of them. He beat the shit out of them. And
Yeah,
he put the fear of God into the boyfriend. But he showed restraint because because Jason Statham character, he's a trained killer.
yeah,
He could have just easily killed those guys, but he showed restraint because he wanted to get justice for the girl that he loved, but also he wanted to teach those guys a lesson.
right.
So yeah, so again, two great two great aspects of masculinity is protection for the weak, and then also restraint.
Right.
All aspects of masculinity.
And yeah, so that was like one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Um, for more of the kind of just like the great ass kicking action. There's a scene like where they're in like kind of like the catacombs, and
Mhm.
they're fighting the um, uh, Stallone's team, and they're going against the generals like fighters and stuff, and you have this one guy that Jason Statham and Jet Li are like tag teaming,
Mhm.
and they finally get the guy down, and then you get that like axe kick to the to his neck, and it just snaps
Mhm.
his head. I was like, yes, that's exactly. I was like that was fucking awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and interesting. Yeah, even the general represents the toxic side of masculinity.
Yeah,
In that he, even though he was a, I think he was uh, somewhat of of a decent leader at one point, but he became corrupted. To the
right.
point where even his own daughter was
Hated
going
him.
against him. And
Yeah,
I think I think he realized that, and particularly in that line where he said like, "You're who I should have been," because it's in early on it's shown that that she's a bit of an artist. That she drew like she had a she drew something, and and Sylvester Stallone's character Barney was admiring it, and it's like, and she said like, "Oh, you could have it." Um, but then like you see the general doing some painting of his own, so I think that was a kind of a link between father and daughter, that they
right,
share. It's like art, and then he just before like he dies, he confesses to her like, "Oh, you're who I should have been. I should have just been an artist."
right, right.
So
It's,
yeah, I think.
there's a lot of like kind of good like little like nuggets like that in the movie. It's not just mindless action.
Right.
There is like a little bit of a story. Like I kind of joke that like it doesn't matter what the story is, but
Mhm.
there is like those like little nuggets in there. Um, you can tell like a lot of the it's a lot of the guys are like older. They have a lot of stories together, um, and um, like with like a lot of those guys, there's a little bit of loneliness in their profession, and all they really do have is one another, and even then it's like it's really solely based off of like their pay. It's like they want the jobs that are um like because Mickey Rourke's character is the one that is kind of giving them their jobs, and it's like, well, let's see, I got two jobs that are like super easy, and one that's to hell and back, and they all kind of wanted the one that was to hell and back.
Right. And yeah, because even with Jet Li's character, he was asking for more money, and he says like, "Oh, it's for my family. I want to send my kid to a good school." But then he then later confesses that it's not about the money. It's not, like, he didn't even have a family,
Right.
and that it was more about it was, yeah, it was just more about him having money, or I don't know, securing his place on the team or what have you, because the gunner character, Dolph Lundgren's character, he was a strung out junkie,
Yeah.
but you know, uh, but in the end, the team ends up forgiving him and even like welcomes him back to the fold.
Right. Right. But
But
yeah, no,
yeah,
this
it's
movie.
like yeah, it's like you don't get it. You don't get into drugs if if you don't have a family, and you don't start demanding more money, just simply because of some desire, or maybe like maybe that was Jet Li saying that it was for his family, was his kind of this desire that he actually does want to start a family.
Yeah.
And like he
And
just and he just wants more money so that he can like eventually stop doing these mercenary type jobs and actually go and start a family.
right.
right? Because even Jason Statham's character, like he was very guarded and reserved with his girlfriend and didn't tell her like what he did, and and so like when he comes back and she's like with another guy, it's like he's like genuinely surprised, like what? I thought we had something good. It's like, and she says to him like, you don't even tell me what you do for a living. So how
Yeah.
is it, so how can we have a future?
Yeah, like I said, it's there's like all the characters are very, they have like a little bit of like a complicated past. They've, it's an older group, um, and yeah, there's like a lot of depth with a lot of these characters and what they're looking for, what they're uh, all that stuff, and so yeah, like I said, it does have a story. It's but at the same time, it has just like some of the most awesome. It's definitely a modern day. It's the best action film, modern day action film to me.
All right, that's fair enough. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I like the I'm a huge fan. I love the Jason Bourne series. I like the Mission Impossible series. Um, I like all that stuff. But this is a callback to like a lot of the action films that I loved as a kid.
Right.
And
Although it is interesting though with Mission Impossible, they started off as gritty, realistic, spy caper.
yeah,
I mean, as realistic as you can be with like agents wearing masks, like near perfect, undetectable masks, and Tom Cruise surviving an explosion to land on a train from a helicopter.
yeah.
As realistic as you can be, but it was pretty grounded. I would say the first one.
The first Mission Impossible is very grounded.
Yeah.
Then you get to the
Then you get to two, which they overcorrected and went completely spectacle.
it was awful.
Yeah. Like,
It was
I actually even haven't even sat through the entire Mission Impossible 2.
that was actually the
Yeah,
first
I caught a little bit of the beginning, a little bit of the middle, and a little bit of the end.
that was actually the first Mission Impossible I watched. And yeah, it's when I saw the other ones, I was like, oh my god, this one's garbage.
Yeah, but I think it wasn't. But interestingly enough, it wasn't until J.J. Abrams came and like he kind of was successful in kind of making it grounded, but then also making it spectacle as well.
Right, yeah, and I think because Tom Cruise is now a producer. It's kind of his series now,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and yeah, he's done a really good job with it.
Yeah, it's probably yeah. This is it's kind of like with the Riddick franchise.
Yeah,
With Vin Diesel, like the only he's like in charge of that entire franchise now, and like now that's his reward for coming back and doing the Fast and Furious movies.
right.
Yeah, they did kind of like a horse trade, or like him the studio did. It's like, yeah, I'll do Fast and the Furious movies, but I get complete creative control over the Riddick character and
Yeah,
movies.
but so yeah, in my opinion, if you're looking for a good, good action film, modern day action film, Expendables is the one to watch. If you love Sylvester, if you like the old action stars, you're gonna love it.
Agreed. I don't have anything really else to add. Did you have any
No,
final
I don't have
thoughts?
anything else to add either on that one. So like, what would be your rating on it, Andy?
Yeah, my rating would be. I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
3.5?
3.5. It was
Uh,
good. I mean, don't get me wrong. It has its problems, but I don't. It's still good.
yeah.
I just can't justify giving it a 4.
Uh, okay, I'm gonna disagree a little bit because I'm actually gonna give it a 4. Uh,
Okay.
uh, the action is just so good in this. I
Mhm.
love all the big explosions. I love the over the top excitement. Um, I like all the the old guard characters in there.
Mhm.
Um, and honestly, maybe it's a little bit of kind of nostalgia or whatever, or like,
Mhm.
but I really like this movie a lot. This is
Yeah.
probably like the 10th time I've watched this movie, and I will probably watch it another 10 times. Not a perfect
Mhm.
movie. I kind of wish there was a little bit of a better story, but
Mhm.
it's awesome.
Mhm. Yeah. It's so funny. Only when only after we come to the end. I was just thinking about it. It's like another movie that would have been good was The Rundown.
Yes,
I
we
really
should review that movie at some point soon.
Right. Yeah, and I really like that movie in the sense of like it being like a true kind of handoff movie to The Rock because there's a part in the opening scene where The Rock's character's walking into the club, and then you have Arnold Schwarzenegger like walking out as he's walking in, and he tells them like, "Oh, have fun."
Yeah, yeah,
And it's kind of like that passing of the torch where it's like, like because that's where the action's gonna happen. So it's like, oh yeah, have fun, but also it's like, yeah, enjoy it, because this will be the best, this will be the best career you'll ever have.
yeah. The
Being
rundown,
like being like an action star.
yeah, the rundown is awesome.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really entertaining. Yeah, yeah. We have memorable characters. Yeah, we'll definitely have to fit that in at some point.
Well, yeah, we'll get it in there.
Yeah, but I think that the rundown would have also fit in with the theme of machismo.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, because I think because like with the real reason, because the real or kind of the less like the kind of like the sneaky reason why I wanted to do a machismo month is to uh, take these movies where people would say, oh, these guys, did nothing but a bunch of muscle bound, gun happy, idiots. But
Yeah,
I wanted to highlight, kind of like the positive because like machismo is kind of thought of as a bad thing where it's like kind of like a cheese like almost it's almost come to mean like cheese ball, with this kind of
yeah,
like ridiculous idea of like masculinity, but you know you know. But just like anything, there are bad aspects to everything. There's bad aspects to femininity,
yep,
you know. And then just as there's good parts to femininity. So I just wanted to highlight some good parts of masculinity, and I think we did that. Just kind of breaking. I mean, even in Expendables, where even though it just seemed like this kind of shoot 'em up action thing, we kind of went in and like went deeper into like the characters and the motivations, and then with Roadhouse, we talked about like the different type of masculinity, where it's like
yeah.
it's more reserved and restrained.
He's a holstered gun.
Yeah, he's a holstered gun. Exactly. And like with Predator, it's just like the over the top like here I am, come and get me, kind of attitude, which I think men need to have,
Yeah,
especially if they're gonna make something of themselves. Like it doesn't have to be like as intense as like going into like the jungle and killing an alien space monster.
and even like with Action Jackson too, it's about a guy like doing what's right, even though it essentially fucked up his life.
Right. Yeah, he did what was right even at the cost of his career and his marriage. And some people might think that that's stupid, but that's it's it could be It could be a type of chivalry,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, so that's our review of Expendables. I give it a 3.5. Robert gives it a 4. Definitely recommend this movie.
We're gonna do
Uh,
another machismo month at some point, so we'll throw the rundown.
all right.
Trust me, there's a lot of them, so don't worry.
Right. Yeah, and I hope I hope you don't mind that I only did this month to be a little bit subversive. Uh, but I think it was worth it.
Definitely.
All right, that will do it for us tonight. I hope you were entertained. I had a good time. I'm sure Robert had a
I
good time. Don't forget to join us every Tuesday at 8 p.m. ish Pacific Standard Time. Don't forget to check out the library of other shows that we have. The Circle of Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Rob's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts: Twitter at PodcastCOJ, Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast, and LetterboxD at PodcastCOJ. And with all that said, we thank you once again, and let's do it again next week.
Sounds like a plan.